in the back, Debbie? And Jane? Okay. Moments away. Boiling water.
Oh.
Good point. Yeah.
I figured it was some kind of an instant hot coil that just ran over the top of it.
Okay. Well, one of our clocks says 9 o'clock, so we're going to get started. Good morning, everyone. Today is Wednesday, March 6th, 2024, and we'd like to welcome everyone to the board meeting. We'll call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. The teleconference number is 971-254-3149, conference ID 866-914-607#. Audio capabilities are listen only and are offered on a best effort for the public. Our meeting is also live streamed, and you can join us online by going to our website. Live stream is also available at tctvonline.com. Click on live broadcasts. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to mute your phones. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute your phone when your agenda item is ready to be discussed. For those joining via computer, please unmute your microphone and turn on your camera when your agenda item is called. All others must remain muted with their cameras turned off. Thank you. Public comment. Those intending to provide public comment to the board may attend in person or email submissions to the public comments email on our website. Public comments received by 12 p.m. on Tuesday will be distributed to the board, posted online before the meeting, and become part of the public record. You may also provide public comment virtually by registering ahead of time. To register, please email public comments by 12 p.m. on Tuesday prior to the board meeting. Public comments can also be mailed to the Board of Commissioners office at 201 Laurel Avenue, Tillamook, Oregon, 97141. For more information on public comment options, please visit the Board of Commissioners webpage. Do we have anyone online for public comment, Debbie? We do not. Okay. And we will call this meeting to order. I invite everyone in the room with us. Thank you. Welcome. Invite you to sign the guest list, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Scott, will you lead us?
Absolutely. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, so first on our agenda is a presentation I'm really looking forward to. I'd like to invite our guests to come up, and we have with us today Allison Dennis from Sitka Center for Art and Ecology and Nicola Harrison, thank you. Sitka Center for Art and Ecology is going to give us a presentation on Tillamook youth and community arts access. So thank you so much for being here, and I'm looking forward to this presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner Bell. Good morning, Tillamook commissioners and colleagues. Thank you for this opportunity to update you on Sitka's efforts to expand arts access to Tillamook County kids and schools. The Sitka Center for Art and Ecology is a 53 years young Oregon Coast nonprofit. We turned 54 in May. Our programs serve artists, scientists, and interdisciplinary creators at all ages and stages of learning and life. This beauteous heron was drawn by a 6th grade Tillamook artist as part of a recent workshop inspired by the work of local scientific illustrator Nora Sherwood. Next slide. This is what the center looks like. We are located within the Cascade Heads Ranch neighborhood in southernmost Tillamook County. The developer Mike Lowell's original idea was to have an intentional living community with back to nature 70s architecture with an art center in the middle instead of a golf course. Thanks to your generous support through the Tillamook Visitors Association Transient Lodging Tax Program, we were able to replace a failing electrical wall last year, and this spring, all of the outdoor safety lighting and hand railings will be replaced. So thank you for helping preserve our iconic campus and allowing us to share it with more people. Next. This is what Cascade Head looked like a year ago in February, when you may recall that the Oregon coast was completely snowbound. This photo was taken by freelance National Geographic scientific photographer Robert Dash during his 2023 residency at Sitka. Next. This is the view from the guest house at Sitka's 80-acre nature preserve on a much balmier day. The center's main campus and preserve are both in Otis in very South Tillamook County. We are located within the Cascade Head Scenic Research Area and the UNESCO Biosphere Reserve, and all of this land feeds into the restored Salmon River estuary. Next. We host around 100 workshops each year for adult learners of all skill levels on a broad range of fine art, craft, writing, and ecology topics. This image is from a Foraging for Natural Dyes workshop we offered last summer, and we will reoffer this summer. Next. This is a green woodworking workshop where everyone went home with their own hand-carved three-legged stools and very pumped biceps. Next. This is a mycology and pigment workshop we offered at the start of this past fall. Each year, our workshop season contributes over $1.2 million to our local art and ecotourism economy, including in the spring and shoulder season and fall shoulder seasons. It also creates over 80 paid opportunities for professional artists and educators. 2023 was our best attended workshop season ever. Next. We also host over 50 professional artists, scientists, writers, poets, and interdisciplinary creators in residence each year, some of whom give back by sharing their work and career paths with local kids and classrooms. Those pictured here include an Indigenous children's book illustrator, a photographer and curator with a major show at the Portland Art Museum right now, a MacArthur Genius Fellow, and a 4-time finalist for the Pulitzer Prize in Journalism. Next. So Sitka has long desired to offer youth programming on par with the quality of our workshops for adult learners as a way to give back and make a local difference. Sitka's campus, however, was not designed to host kids and is located in a serene and protected coastal forest neighborhood that school buses can't safely access. Next. While studies continue to show vital connections between art education access, self-expression and esteem, and overall school engagement and performance, as school budgets are cut, dedicated time, trained teachers, and other resources for art in K-8 schools are increasingly rare, especially in rural Oregon communities. Next. According to the Oregon Department of Education's 2022 Well-Rounded Access Program Needs Assessment, quote, students in rural communities have significantly less access to arts courses in their public schools than other student groups, with 45% of elementary students in rural communities attending a school without a standalone course in any arts discipline. Next. So no music, no band, no performing arts, and no fine art, over 45%. Not by us alone, and Sitka thinks this is a solvable problem and one that Tillamook County is now poised to play a leading role in solving. Next. As one first step, in 2019, Sitka joined forces with Community Arts Project, or CAP, a small 30-year-old nonprofit that provided monthly art literacy lessons to 2 Tillamook elementary schools. Due to staffing followed by pandemic challenges in 2020, CAP was struggling. Rather than start a new program that would compete with CAP for resources, Sitka instead reached out to CAP's board and offered the solution of Sitka taking over stewardship of CAP's programs, using Sitka's greater administrative capacity to fund and grow the program to serve more local kids and schools. Next. CAP's board said yes. A nonprofit transfer of assets was completed in 2020, and the program was saved. So from 500 K through 6th grade kids in 2 Tillamook elementary schools in November of 2020. So 500 kids, 2 schools in 2020. Next. This is where we are now. So green stars represent active schools, yellow stars represent active conversations. Over the past 3 years, pandemic and all, Sitka has grown the youth program by 300%. We now serve 2,000 pre-K through 8th grade kids with monthly art and STEAM-inspired workshops, including 1,500 kids across all 3 school districts here in Tillamook County. All of these schools are Title I schools in low-income communities based on federal guidelines. 95%, as I'm sure you know, of the kids in these schools are low income enough to qualify for the free and reduced school meals program. Sitka was recently awarded a $220,000 2-year grant through the Oregon Department of Education's Youth Development Oregon program to invest in strengthening our flagship programs right here in Tillamook County and explore opportunities to bring the program into other rural schools where it is wanted. Next. When I interviewed these artists this year about the importance of school-based arts access, they both immediately spoke to the social-emotional connection. So a quote from the 7th grade artist on the left: "Art is important because some kids don't know how to express themselves in other ways. Through art, they can." And from the 8th grade artist on the right, "Art helps people be more creative. Some people use it as therapy almost." The artist on the right's name is Zyla Next. And just this month, here's a piece Zyla created in our February program. This is a mature artwork created by a talented Tillamook fine artist. So this is how it works. Next, each month, we create an art and ecology lesson plan and tailor it to the needs of different age groups. Sitka's youth program director, Liana Perry, personally delivers about half of the workshops now so that you can get real-time feedback from kids and teachers about what is most fun and impactful. Then, part-time Sitka art teachers, each based in the coastal community that they serve, learn the curriculum from Liana each month and deliver it in their own community. We are in the early stages, and so far this model is proving to be high impact, low cost compared to staffing full-time art programs, culturally relevant, and rurally scalable. Next. Since it's only once a month, we focus on quality during that precious classroom time. We're really striving to have the kids we serve, like the artist on the left, receive the same quality of experience and have access to the same quality of supplies as the adult learners we serve, like the artist on the right. Next. A Sitka strength is our ability to connect professional artists we host in residence who are interested in community outreach with opportunities to share their talents and career paths with coastal classrooms. In this example, guest artist and naturalist Iris Sullivan-Dare led a workshop this past school year using place-based ink distilled from Sitka spruce needles. So ink with a coastal story, real brushes, good paper, a glass jar. The program, including the supplies, are all free to participating kits. Next. Just last month, a cohort of 3rd and 4th grade students from our county made the second of a series of 3 field trips to the Grand Ronde Native Plant Nursery to observe the life cycle of camas and other traditional plants, capture their observations and drawings in nature journals, and get their hands dirty. Working with nursery manager Jeremy Oja, they helped process and plant 9,000 camas bulbs with the Grand Ronde. Next. Liana Perry, who directs this program, notes how dramatically the quality of drawing and mark making is among the students she serves, even with just once a month opportunities to make their own art and study other artists. Liberty Elementary School Principal Rachel Williamson, who regularly shares photos and spotlights Sitka's youth program in monthly parent newsletters, recently shared, "I truly believe experiences like these enrich and deepen our students' understanding of themselves and our world. Thank you for providing such an engaging and interesting lesson. Teachers who have participated in the lessons are absolutely raving about the experience." Next. I'll just share one more curricular example. In this past January, Sitka Youth Program artists like this one made turtles inspired by Ashland-based artist Betty LeDuc's Turtle Wisdom series. Betty LeDuc is 91 years old, I think, this year. Artists chose themes of personal importance for their turtles and painted them on wood board with acrylic paint. Next. So this is Love Turtle by Cecilia. Next. This is Emotions Are Complicated Turtle by Addie. Next. This is Obesity Turtle. Next. Slavery Turtle. These are powerful images, fine art images. Next. We didn't get the title of Samuel's turtle, but I like imagining what is personally important to him looking at this image. Next. This is Merica Turtle. Next. This is Anxiety Turtle. It's an incredibly powerful image. Next. So STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, art, and math. A challenge in many rural Oregon communities is that schools just don't have the resources or trained art teachers to teach the art part. Where there are active STEAM programs, they are often taught by a science teacher who does not feel confident teaching art. Another way Sitka may be able to help advocate for and amplify the art in STEAM is by serving art and STEM teachers with professional development opportunities, including through our summer workshop series for adult learners. Next. Last summer, we actually had several public school, elementary, and high school teachers who on their own had the idea and got permission from their principals to travel to Tillamook County and come take Sitka workshops as part of their professional development requirements. This STEAM teacher actually traveled from Alaska to study with us, with the school covering her travel and tuition. So please help spread the word so that more teachers know that this is an option, and we will have certificates of completion available for those who need them. I'd love to collaborate with the council and community leaders to help grow Tillamook's reputation as a youth art and STEAM educators destination. I'm just going to close with one exciting announcement for Sitka and for our county. Next. So it is my honor to share that, inspired by Sitka's youth program and our commitment to highest quality rural arts access, U.S. Poet Laureate Ada Limon has accepted the Sitka Center's invitation to visit Tillamook County in May of 2025 and give 2 free public readings. One reading will take place at the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde, and the other will take place right here in Tillamook County at Nestucca Valley K-8 School. So consider this your early invitation. We'll be planning a year of school-based programming leading up to Poet Laureate Limon's visit. Next. So thank you for this time and for all you do as commissioners to bring arts and culture vibrancy to Tillamook and inspire the next generation of creative coastal Oregonians. I welcome near and long-term opportunities to collaborate to grow Tillamook's reputation as a rural youth art access leader, make the connections between access to art and school engagement and student well-being, find stable long-term funding instead of midnight and weekend grant writing, and make a difference in the creative lives of kids and families countywide. Next. So I welcome your questions and insights, and we welcome you at Sitka for campus tours, to tour our nature preserve, and to visit our school-based youth program in action at your convenience. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad you're here today. This is just a gift to me, to my spirit, to have you here and to see your presentation. This speaks to me on so many levels because I have several connections with Sitka Center for Art and Ecology in several of the programs that you just talked about. When I moved here in 2005, my son was in 3rd grade at Nestucca Valley Elementary, and I was trying to figure out how to plug myself into the community and be of service, and so I volunteered for the Community Arts Project, and I volunteered in my son's school. So when the Community Arts Project came in to do their classes, I would join them and help them as a parent helper. And those classes were beautiful. They were fabulous. They would choose a theme, like a particular artist or a particular style of art, and all the kids would get to experiment with that theme like a lot of the examples that you just showed. And some of those things, my son is 27 this month, and I still have some of those artworks because they were amazing. The kids did amazing work, and so it was a wonderful experience for me. It was a wonderful experience for the students, and I'm so grateful that Sitka took over that program when the community arts program was no longer able to operate in the way they had before. And I'm thrilled that you're expanding. You know, it's fabulous. It's you know, maybe sad the state of affairs for public school funding, that schools can't afford arts education, but bravo to Sitka, to CAP, to the long-standing service of people who served in that organization to bring arts education to Tillamook County students and to do it so dynamically. A couple of years ago, I think, Liana Perry, who was in your slides, invited me to a class that she was teaching at the new Nestucca K-8, and it was amazing. I was so impressed and so happy that the quality of arts education is consistently good from the time I was in the classroom with my young son to last year. They had a visiting cellist who was maybe a resident at Sitka.
Altea Narici from Italy.
Thank you. I don't blame myself for not remembering that name. She was amazing. So world-class cello music in the classroom, and she interacted with the kids in such an imaginative, amazing way. She asked them to tell her a story, and then she improvised a song that was their story, and they really got interested in it, and they were throwing out wild things, and she'd throw out wild music, and it was dynamic. It was beautiful. So all of that is, I'm just so happy that this work is continuing and growing. And also, I have taken some of the adult classes through the Sitka Center for Art and Ecology workshops that you talked about, mostly in the summer. And you know, it's interesting. I'm glad that you're here because this meeting is live streamed and it's recorded and it's broadcast, because not everybody knows about Sitka Center for Art and Ecology, even though you've been there for a long time. Not everybody even knows that it's in Tillamook County, because
One of the best kept secrets in
that's right.
Tillamook County.
It's the southernmost tip of Tillamook County, Cascade Head, and so but it is remarkable. And I just happened onto it randomly in some public place where the catalog, yes, thank you, was sitting. I picked it up and I thought, wow, that sounds great. So I've taken some, I learned to do glass mosaic work at Sitka, and I've taken some fabulous glass mosaic classes, which led to a whole, now I consider myself a glass artist, and it started at Sitka. And I've also taken some amazing writing classes there. And so it's really very enriching to adults and to children and to our community as a whole. It's such important work. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bell. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge my colleague, Nicola Harrison, who serves as Sitka's Assistant Director now. Prior to joining Sitka's team, she served as the Executive Director for the Community Arts Project, or CAP, for 5 years. So we're just thrilled to have I'm thrilled to have Nicola as a colleague to see this work forward and to build on the program's legacy. She's been absolutely essential to the results that we were able to share today.
Wonderful. Thank you. I'm going to invite my fellow commissioners to ask
Sure.
questions.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you guys so much for the presentation. I really appreciate it. I am one who knows much less about Sitka Center, to be very clear. I knew a little bit more about Community Arts Project. My daughter also participated in that when she was younger. Even though we lived here in Tillamook during the summer, they had the opportunity for kids to participate, and she went, so I took her to South County so she could be a part of that. And in fact, my mom volunteered because they were doing quilt making, and my mom's a quilter. She came over from Central Oregon and volunteered and assisted with that. And it was an amazing opportunity. It was my daughter's first quilt, and she has made many more since then. In fact, she still quilts with her grandma, which is a really amazing thing since she's now 19, and normally they've moved on by then. So the programs that were provided through Community Arts Project and now through Sitka are so important in our community, and I really appreciate that you have taken that in, that is a new sort of line of business, if you will, for your nonprofit. And is Emily Cisco working for you guys?
Emily is helping to teach the youngest grade levels in the Tillamook schools that we're serving right now, so kindergarten and first graders.
Wonderful. That's what I thought. I had run into her recently, a good friend of mine, and she was talking about her new job, and I thought it was with you guys. So I think that it's just amazing, the fact that you're expanding throughout the county, that you are engaging with our local folks so they're embedded in the community and doing that teaching. So just thank you very much for all that you do.
Thank you, Commissioner Scar.
Commissioner Olson.
Well, thank you, Commissioner, and I enjoyed your presentation. I have a couple of questions, but I will, my exposure to art is I once took a class in college, I think to fill some time or get a credit, and I learned that I have absolutely zero talent for drawing anything whatsoever. I did manage to sculpt a small toilet and fired it in a kiln at the time, but that was a long time ago. So my first question is, can art, the ability to draw in something that can be recognizable and as beautiful as that last bird was, can that be taught?
Absolutely. if you think about some of our country's first colonizing explorers coming across the country and experiencing all kinds of new plants and animals for the first time, they weren't trained artists, but their observational skills captured their experiences for us and still bring those travels and journeys to life. I think especially just at the earliest ages, if we're inviting young artists to look deeply, observe deeply, not just draw what they think the person next to them is drawing or what they think the teacher wants them to draw, but really make an eye-hand connection at the earliest ages. Not everyone will grow up to be a professional artist in the same way that when we teach kids math, we don't expect them to all grow up to be mathematicians. But those core skills of observation, of understanding color and light and shape and line and form, and having access to your own creativity and imagination, those skills translate to all kinds of career paths, especially higher earning career paths for people in the future. Creativity is essential.
Thank you. Is photography any part of what you do at all?
It is. So both so right now we have some professional photographers who are staying at Sitka in residence. Last year, we brought in a Portland photographer who does large format photography, and he did a week-long series of photography workshops with the Nestucca Valley Summer Youth Program. So kids got to study with him, learn about his work, and then go out into the field with him on multiple days and take pictures of natural narratives and then bring them back and make photography books with him. That's just one example, but we're really excited about finding the strengths in Sitka's programming. Photography is one of them in the adult programming, and finding ways to connect those through lines into the community through our youth program.
Good, thank you. I do have some cameras. I've taken some pretty good pictures. I once won $1 at a county fair.
Excellent.
So there is
I'm
hope
proud of
for
you,
people like me.
Commissioner Olson.
So my final question, could you explain your funding? Where does the money come from, and how is it continual? Is it guaranteed, or do you have to go out on the circuit and make presentations and ask for support, or could you speak to that?
Yeah, it's the latter. Sitka's about a $1.4 million general operating organization right now. Our funds come from three primary sources, and they're almost equal. So about 30% of our funding comes through grants that we apply for. 30% comes through individual donations and in-kind donations. And then a third comes from earned revenue, like through the tuition people pay to take our summer workshops, or we have a large once-a-year art show and sale. So 30, 30, and 30. And then we have an endowment that covers just about 10% of our operating costs through the interest draw each year. And that's a pretty magical number because 10% is just about exactly what we need to spend each year on the things that no one wants to pay for, like lawyers and accountants and my time to administer the board of directors.
Thank you. Well, I wish you the very best, and I live down in that part of Tillamook County, and I must admit, I haven't been too engaged with that, but I'll make it a point to spend a half day down there one of these times. And I do know where some of the buildings are and your engagement in that part, so keep doing what you're doing. That's a large part of what makes Tillamook County pretty livable.
Thank you kindly. I look forward to touring you personally.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thanks all.
I hope you'll leave those, yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. I encourage folks who are listening to check out the pamphlets about the Sitka Center for Art and Ecology workshops. It's just a wonderful, I haven't done it for myself every summer, but when I have done it, it's like a little 3-day vacation in the summer, a creative vacation. It's just the nicest gift to give yourself, truly. And a lot of the classes are beginner friendly. So it's, you've inspired me to check out the workshop list for this year. So thank you. Thanks for being here. And you're welcome to stay. You don't have to. It's entirely up to you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on in our agenda to item 6, we have consideration of a placement affiliation agreement with the United States University for on-site learning. And I believe we have Marlene Putman, Administrator.
You
Health and Human
do.
Services. Good morning.
Good morning. We often have affiliation agreements with universities for students to participate in a rotation, whether it's for behavioral health, medical, or dental training. And this agreement pertains to students that will be working with us through this United States university based in California. They'll be shadowing our family nurse practitioner in rotations in our clinics. So we hadn't always brought affiliation agreements through this process. So we are making sure that we do that now. It's here with you today for your review. It's pretty standard to the ones we normally experience, talking about what the requirements are for the students and education, the HIPAA, training for basic work within a facility, meaning meeting our requirements as well as the university requirements.
Wonderful. Thank you. Commissioners?
Thank you, Marlene. I think this is a great opportunity that we can provide for those who are learning, and always hope that with their experience in Tillamook County, they might decide that when they finish their education, this is the right place for them. So it is not only an opportunity for them, but it is an opportunity for us as well to do a little sort of early recruiting, if you will. So I am absolutely in support and delighted that we have someone who's going to, from the medical side of this, that will be shadowing our family nurse practitioner. That sounds fabulous.
Thank you. Commissioner?
My only comment is I have yet to learn or think or conclude that education is a bad thing. So it's just not. So I'm in support of moving along with this one.
Thank you, as am I. I think it's exciting that people are getting an education presumably online, and that they can do their practicums, they can do the practical working experience with us. So I think that's wonderful. And I think we're ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of a placement affiliation agreement with United States University for on-site learning, I move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Marlene. You have the next couple of items. Item 7 is consideration of a personnel requisition for a new regular full-time information technology specialist 3 shared position with Information Services Department.
Yes, we have been discussing this for a little while, trying to figure out how to meet the needs of the Health and Human Services Department, while also recognizing the demand of requests that we have, or the demand that we have for need for services, and the pressure that places on the IT or IS department. So we have decided together that we will hire, much like the library does, a new full-time IT specialist 3, and we'll work with Jeff and his team to train that person, and they will be placed and working in our facility, our main clinic here, full-time. We were on the cusp of trying to decide whether it's an IT specialist 3 or 2. We're going with the 3 at this point, and we'll figure out if we need to have that level. We believe so because of the complexity of our electronic medical record system for both dental, medical, and behavioral health services. So I think also, Jody is here, and maybe it's here too. Did you want to speak to this as well, Jody?
Well, you just hit it right as I raised my hand. You know, when we looked between the 2 and the 3 about what was most appropriate, there is quite a bit of project management and heavy lifting with the Epic system, the updates, the troubleshooting, and new projects that create ongoing technology challenges. There's video, the virtual appointments, there is being able to use AI. And so those projects that are needed are really becoming bigger than our traditional information services 2 position. So I just wanted to speak to that as well. Marlene, thank you for covering that as well.
Yeah, and we have quite a few requests for things when systems go down or phones go down or the x-ray machine isn't connected properly. So it seems like they're really urgent and it puts a lot of stress on the help desk to try to respond so immediately. So we think this is going to be a solution that will work for both departments and hopefully the county as a whole. So
Thank you, Marlene. Commissioner Olson?
Thank you. I did discuss this with Jeff in our IS. That happens to be one of my departments as a liaison. And what you just heard is exactly what was discussed. One additional thing that it was explained to me that I believe happens with the library IT people as well, or IS people, as well as what will happen here, is they spend about a half a day a week on average over here in the courthouse with the full staff so that they can exchange information. And there's also other staff from the courthouse area where they're centered that go also into the health department and the library and elsewhere as needed. So that if the individual that you're speaking of, the new hire, is out for some reason, then another person can step in and at least have a working knowledge of the equipment, some of the issues and what's happening. Not to say that they would know all the medical background, but the technical side of getting the system up and running. So I think there's a good process and system in place for exchange of information and keeping everybody current and basically on the same page. And the fact that it's paid for, that's an accounting issue, but it's not really an issue. It's the way it's done. But to me, there's an overarching umbrella that makes a great deal of sense. So I'm very comfortable with this, and I knew it was coming, and so I'm in support.
Thank you.
I agree. This is a critical step. The medical world just keeps moving forward with technology needs, and having someone who has that Ocean Epic background, I think will be very helpful for the health department. I think the other piece of this is just a reminder to everyone that the health department is a special revenue fund. HHS, our clinics generate the revenue that they utilize to operate the clinics. So in order for that to work smoothly, technology has to work smoothly. So there are resources to pay for this individual, and this individual, in fact, will make revenue a more, I would say, stable, so that we are not struggling with we have a remote provider as an example. One of our providers is largely remote, in fact, and the technology has to be there when it's time for that provider to see their patients, and we can't have gaps in service like that. So having somebody on site the majority of the time who has the expertise, has the knowledge, and is paid for through the operations of the clinic makes the most sense. The rest of our IS, as we all know, is part of our general fund, and departments are allocated a portion of that based on an allocation formula through the treasurer's office. So this will be outside of that because it will be paid for through the health department, health clinic funds specifically. So I'm in support of this. I think it's a good solution, and look forward to finding the right person to fill that spot.
Terrific. I am in support of this also. I've talked to Jeff Underwood, our Information Services Operating Manager, about it a couple of times, and I think it's a great partnership. We have this model at work already in the library. There's an Information Services specialist who works with the library, who is part of the Information Services department. And the library helps fund the position that is specific to the needs in the library. So as would happen here. And so it makes perfect sense because we need more help, and specifically we need more help in Health and Human Services. So I think this is a great solution, and I look forward to it.
Perfect. Okay, Madam Chair, a consideration of a personnel requisition for a new regular full-time Information Technology Specialist 3 shared position with Information Services Department. I would move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Okay, Marlene, one more. Item 8, consideration of a personnel requisition for a new regular full-time public health program representative in the Health and Human Services Department. Marlene.
yes, this position relates to our Rural Health Network grant. In that grant application, we included a position to serve as a coordinator for that project, which is convening our healthcare partners to talk about priority issues and needs in community health and where we will make those investments in services to try to improve or address those needs. This position I think it's listed as grant funded on here, but it is grant funded. And we're hoping that we'll also be applying for, shouldn't say we're hoping we'll apply. We will be applying. We're hoping we will be awarded additional grant funding for a 4-year implementation grant to put those projects in place. However, if we don't receive it, the plan still is with this network to share some plans and resources to make health improvements and share data across healthcare organizations. I'm talking about mental health, so Tillamook Family Counseling Center, our department, Nehalem Bay, Adventist Health, at a minimum, to include those in the discussion about shared investments to improve overall health and wellness in our community. So this position gets to work with that team of folks, which I think will be a fun job too.
Wonderful. Commissioner?
Yeah, thank you, Marlene. I think this is great. I think Tillamook County has always worked together across our health systems to make sure that patients are getting what they need. You know, our folks who use the emergency room may have a primary care provider at Nehalem Valley Health Center Pharmacy. They may have a primary care provider through our federally qualified health clinics. They may also be a patient of Tillamook Family Counseling. So there are a lot of crossovers that already occur across our health system, and I know that we work to make sure that patients are served in a full 360 way, regardless of how those may cross over. So I think this work in the rural health system planning will augment that. It just lets us deepen those relationships, review those systems, and really make sure that we're working together in the best possible way. So I'm definitely on board with this. I appreciate the grant funding that comes with planning, and very commonly, if you do a good job with your planning grant, you will move into implementation. So we're very, very hopeful for that.
Thank you. Commissioner?
Thank you. My only comment is I remind any viewers, as Commissioner Scar pointed out a few moments ago, the health department is outside the general fund of the county, which means that there are a variety of other sources of funding, some from grants and then some from state and federal sources as well. And so when you see that a position is being added or something is expanding, it's typically either a requirement or something that makes sense from a business standpoint in terms of what they have to do, how they do it, and efficiencies, and so on. So this is not something that is in competition with other services delivered through the general fund. And I think we need to keep that in mind as we get into our budget process, that we have a lot of special funds with various sources of revenue, and then the general fund itself, and we'll certainly have a debate when the time comes. But these come with some money attached or other means of support, and I think people need to be reminded of that because they're gonna be looking over our shoulders here pretty quick.
Excellent point. Thank you. Well, I am supportive of this position also, and appreciative that it is funded, and I'm encouraged to hear you say that you think it'll be a fun job. So that's always nice. I think we're ready.
Okay, Madam Chair, in consideration of a personnel requisition for a new regular full-time public health program representative in the Health and Human Services Department, I would move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Marlene.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item 9, consideration of a contract for goods with Tillamook Motor Company, Inc. for the Public Works Department vehicle purchase of a 2024 Ford F-550. Looks like we have Nicole Baldwin with us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Nicole Baldwin with Public Works Administrative Specialist on behalf of Chris Leedy. I'm here to request the board's consideration and approval of the contract for goods from Tillamook Motor Company of the purchase of a 2024 Ford F-550. The agreed price for the vehicle amount is $67,346.09. This has been one of the vehicles that's been in process for 25 months now. So it's for the road crew. It'll be a dump body will be put on the back of it, and yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Nicole. Commissioner Olson?
Well, thank you. I will deviate just a moment here and say, the understanding, and Public Works is one of my liaison departments. I've been out there a couple times this week, and we're in talk with Chris at length, and then again tomorrow for solid waste. The fact that she's here today is the best news of the day, and I'm going to tell you why. That means that Chris, the director, is down at the Sand Lake site, and as we speak, the traffic lights are arriving and will be installed today, possibly tomorrow. So at the very best case, it looks like at least by Monday morning, Sand Lake will be open.
That's
Yes.
And that's about 3 weeks ahead of schedule. And that means a lot to all of us, particularly in South County. It will knock about 10 or 15 minutes off my drive back and forth. But maybe more importantly, the folks in Tierra del Mar, many of who have a post office box in Pacific City, and they go to the grocery store and those kinds of things, they had to make a 45-minute detour all the way back up into north of Beaver and then all the way around and then back again. And that's going to go away, and I think it's safe to say now that the first part of next week, that road will be returned. Yesterday afternoon, I went up and had a look at it after a chamber meeting, and the guardrail is in place. There's some other things that are happening, and all the equipment is removed except for the barricades, and those will be removed when the traffic lights are in and working, and maybe a few last-minute barricades and other adjustments to the protective devices. So that's the good side of this with respect to the actual request here for a truck. Again, that's been a 2-year or more, as like a lot of places, so we certainly want to move forward on that, and I'm in support of that. So a double good news there. We're finally going to get a piece of equipment. And second of all, one of our roads that's been out of place for now close to 90 days, I guess, is going to be back online very soon.
That is
Yeah.
good news. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. I think everyone will be delighted to have that road back open for so many reasons, albeit one lane, and people will have to be cautious and thoughtful and,
Yeah.
how we use that one lane. So, but it would be great to have it open. In consideration of the vehicle, 25 months. Who would have ever thought that it was going to take 25 months to order and receive a vehicle? I know we do our best to use our vehicles as long as we can to keep them, as long as they are reliable. We continue to use them, and I assume that what we were using was probably no longer significantly reliable 2 years ago. So it's obviously time for this vehicle. So I am in support.
Terrific. As am I, and I'm thrilled about the Sand Lake Road news. Thank you for sharing that, and pleased, as my colleagues have said, that finally the bottleneck of the supply chain bottleneck for vehicles is opening up. It was no one anticipated, not Public Works or Parks, or no one anticipated years ago when they ordered vehicles that it could take this long. So thank goodness that is coming. That bottleneck is loosening up again.
Yes.
I think we're ready for a motion.
Okay, Madam Chair, in consideration of a contract for goods with Tillamook Motor Company, Inc. for the Public Works Department vehicle purchase of a 2024 Ford F-550, I move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Nicole.
Thanks, Nicole.
Good job.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you.
Okay, item 10 is consideration of amendment number 1 to maintenance service agreement number 4998 with TKE Elevator Corporation for elevator services in the Tillamook County Courthouse. With us, we have Kevin Jolly, our facility supervisor. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning. What you have before you is just an extension to an already existing agreement with our elevator servicing company, TK Elevator. It's extends the service for another 3 years. There's no change to the terms. The price per month is the same. The service, the scope of service is the same. It's just just an extension. The current contract is expiring in April. So we got it trying to get it taken care of a little early before it expires. But just a simple, straightforward extension to the existing agreement.
Commissioner?
Oh, thank you. I have no comments. I certainly would support it, but I guess I had a question or two. They do something routinely, like monthly, or in other words, they come just on a schedule.
Yep,
And
they
then
come.
Second of
Sorry,
all,
go ahead.
if it does go out of order and then we become non-compliant with ADA, what is their response time? Does the contract provide for a certain response, say like 10 hours or 12 hours or next day, or how does that work?
Yeah, well, they have a certain response time, but if there's one thing with our elevator, it's a 30-year-old technology. And this is something we'll be discussing later, but there's not a lot of replacement parts on the shelf. So we're going to be working towards an modernization of the elevator coming up. The first part of it is extending our agreement. But if something goes wrong right now, there's probably a considerable amount of time between when it goes down, because there's no replacement parts, and when it can be back up again. So we're keeping our fingers crossed in the meantime that between the extension of the service agreement, once this is complete, then we can talk about the upgrade. But between the time of the upgrade and now is going to be a substantial amount of time. So we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Hey, thank you. I guess I will report a fun fact. I read somewhere that of all the means of transportation in the whole world, the passenger per mile best safety record is elevators. It exceeds everything else. And so
No,
if
it's
you move
true.
people around the earth, then the elevators are the way to go.
That is a fun fact.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no, this elevators was installed, I think, in 1990, 1993, and it's ran flawlessly for us. We know every month they come and do their maintenance, and anything minor they repair. And it's just just a testament to their service that we're still providing that elevator service without
I'll ask one
interruption.
more question. And
Sure.
I know a little bit about elevators from my background. Is this is a piston unit, not a cable unit, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. That makes it, I can tell you, that makes it generally considerably more difficult to service because it's a hydraulic lift, not a pull cable and all that. That's-
Correct.
I mean,
Yes.
I know you won't remember that after this meeting,
Oh, I
but,
will, forever.
okay.
I know, it's another part of the fun fact.
Yes, all right, thank you, I'm good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. I think, obviously this is something we need to do, and it highlights, just some work that we have coming to us that we're going to have to figure out, which is around the facilities maintenance. I know, we just recently paid for an assessment to have our facilities assessed to determine where the issues lie. This is a 1932 courthouse, as we all know. There are many pieces to it that have been updated and pieces that have not been particularly updated, and pieces that were updated back in the 90s, which are probably still considered new facilities in this building. But ADA compliance is an issue that we have struggled with. There have been multiple, I think, attempts at a plan to figure out how to make this old 1932 building more accessible. And clearly, the elevator was chosen in the 90s as the way to do that. The entry is from the back of the building. It is not easily accessible. It's not convenient, but it's what was able to be done in a 1932 building with big, beautiful stairs that come up to both front doors. So as we look at the facilities assessment and we look at how we will be moving forward, there definitely will be additional conversations around accessibility. It's one that, we are accessible with the elevator, but it's not convenient. So that said, the elevator must continue to run, so I'm in support of the contract.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As am I. And it's essential that we have a company on contract that can do the work and do it in short order when it's needed, because as Doug said, it's a piston-operated elevator.
Write that down.
Things you never knew you'd be talking
That's right,
about, and when
that's
you
right.
ran for commissioner.
That's highly specialized, so, we can't expect our facilities maintenance professionals to be able to work on the elevator, so we need the contract. All right, I think we're ready.
Madam Chair, in consideration of amendment number 1 to maintenance service agreement number 4998 with TKE Elevator Corporation for elevator services in the Tillamook County Courthouse, I move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion passes.
Okay,
Okay, thank you, Kevin.
thank you, commissioners. Have a good day.
You too. Item 11 is consideration of amendment number 1 to Bay Ocean Seashore Survival Training Permit number 6011 with the Department of the U.S. Air Force in Fairfield, Washington. And with us, we have Isabel Gilda, our executive assistant, and here in person in the room. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Commissioners. Good morning. This is an amendment to an existing permit with the U.S. Air Force, and the permit involves access and motor vehicle access to Bay Ocean Peninsula, or Bay Ocean Spit, as currently known. The Bay Ocean Peninsula is regulated by County Ordinance 42, which restricts the use of motor vehicles and requires a permit approved by the Board of Commissioners. The Air Force received their permit in 2020 with a 10-year permit because they do their training annually. And so instead of having to apply for a permit every year, we did a 10-year permit. And this is the permit that's being amended today. And the reason for the amendment is because of the training schedule conflicts or overlaps with the western snowy plover nesting season. And the western snowy plover, for anyone that's endangered, or federally threatened, soon to be endangered. And the snowy plover is a small shorebird. It nests on the beach, so which makes its habitat really vulnerable. So the Air Force had a consultation with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife recently, and they requested that they adjust their training schedule to accommodate the plover nesting season. So next week will be their first training, but it'll be finished by March 15th. And so the snowy plover nesting season is March 15th through September 15th, so it's quite a stretch. And the U.S. Air Force will do their training season on either end of that period. And that's the only change to the agreement, the permit that's being requested today.
Thank you. My question on this is if the U.S. Air Force is coordinating with the Army Corps of Engineers, because I know they are out there using the Bay Ocean Peninsula, and I heard an update yesterday that they're moving in giant equipment, and there's a lot of their vehicles on the road, and so I assume that they're coordinating.
One would hope, but I'll find out for you.
Okay.
I can mention that to the contact person, because I assume they would be in communication, but maybe that's an assumption that I need to confirm.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, I heard yesterday that the Army Corps of Engineers, of course, is using that Bay Ocean Peninsula to do the South Jetty repair.
Correct.
And I heard yesterday that they were moving in earth-moving equipment that was so enormous that they had to move it in pieces, and then they'll assemble it at the end of the point in order to move the giant, multi-ton boulders onto the jetty. So
Yeah, I saw those last year, or the year before, come in, and they're quite a sight to see. They're so huge.
yeah, truly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for
I'll
checking that out.
find out
Thank
that for you. So that's the only change to the permit for the Air Force.
Okay.
Perfect, thank you. Just one other comment on the rocks that are going to be coming in. They are absolutely massive, and I was talking with Judge Joe Dubulskis out in Sherman County. One of they have a judge instead of a commissioner, but the rocks are coming from Sherman County,
Oh,
from
interesting.
his neighbor's property.
Hmm.
So just interesting when you think about where do you get something that is 2 tons and the size of I don't know, those truck beds are probably, I don't know, I know they're 4 to 6, they're huge axle type vehicles, huge rocks. They come from Sherman County, in case you wanted
Interesting.
to know. Apparently there's this particular type of basalt over there that it has the right density and the right chemical makeup to really hold up well in seawater. So anyway, just another fun fact for you,
There we
Doug.
go.
The rocks are coming from Sherman County.
And I think they're so large, they're transported 1 or 2 at a time.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's how big they are.
Yeah, I recall when they did the other jetty repair, watching them come through down Highway 6. So they are massive. Yeah.
Fun facts,
When they did the North Jetty, I was out there and they had like writing on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, I thought, they just grab a rock and dump it off to the side and that was good, but they're all like designed to go in
Sure,
particular.
like a puzzle.
Particulars.
Yeah, I was really
Yeah,
surprised.
it's fully engineered in how they fit together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I asked the judge to send us notes. I said, run over to your neighbor's house and write a little hello, from Sherman County on it. So I gotta go out and look at the rocks and see if I have any, communications from Sherman County.
That's fun.
So
I was in a meeting recently with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the contractors, and they were describing the rocks being between two tons to, now I'm blowing the story because I don't remember the larger size, but it was, he said, up to 16 square feet, like enormous, almost unimaginably big and heavy. So, yeah. Commissioner?
Well, I remember the Snowy Plover a few years ago was going to shut down the entire tourism season on South County where I live. And there was quite a bit of pushback and discussions and they do indeed nest on the beach. But there's also some nesting that goes on inland. I'm not a biologist, but there were like 30 or 40 times as many inland as there are on the beach. And so the question was raised, well, why are we going out of our way to close beaches and all of this? And ultimately then they determined it wasn't necessary to close it, but there was a point where they were going to close the beaches up and down much of the Oregon coast during this nesting season, which coincides with the tourism season. And there were a lot of people didn't think that was such a fine idea. But it evidently was resolved. But so I can appreciate what they're doing. I guess what I understand then, it's the noise from the Air Force flying over with their maneuvers that would cause the problem.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but the
Well,
noise, I know.
Debbie's raising or nodding way in the back there, so otherwise the Air Force doesn't usually do many maneuvers on land except to get in their airplanes and fly off.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that's what it is, but I have no problem with what needs to be done administratively to make it happen. It's just another interesting, and I've talked with Val Folkema and others who have had something to say about the arrangements for that jetty, and you're quite right. I guess I'm just wondering if one of those rocks tipped off the flatbed truck on the Banfield Freeway in the middle of Portland, that would be an interesting afternoon too, but another subject. So, so I think this makes perfect sense. Keep it going and let's get that part done. I know it's critically important to the mariners who navigate the going out to sea there at that point, and so sooner the better. I think it's a safety issue as well as anything else.
Thank you.
This contract does indicate that the purpose and extent for this agreement is granted the right of ingress and egress to make overnight camps and to use such roads as are available to improve such roads as mutually agreed upon, et cetera. So I think they do some training out there where they actually camp on the spit and do some form of maneuvers. So it's maybe flyovers as well, but ours is for camping. So FYI, since I had it in front of me, I was like, interesting question, Doug. Okay, in consideration of amendment number 1 to Bay Ocean Seashore Survival Training Permit number 6011 with the Department of the U.S. Air Force, Fairfield, Washington, I move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Thank you,
Thank you,
Isabel.
Commissioners.
Thank you, Isabel.
All right, Commissioners, we're on to board concerns. Doug, would you like to talk about the Cape Coanda parking lot?
Yes, I didn't bring all my material
Here's
with,
the thing,
well,
if you want to read it, or you can just talk about
here
it.
it is. I will read it into the record, and then, of course, the expert is with us in the room right over here. I will say I led a discussion yesterday at the Pacific City Nestucca Valley Chamber, and there were some supportive comments and nods of the head, but there were also some questions that had to do with, are we turning away tourism and what's the effect, which I guess we expected, but I will read this paragraph and then we can discuss it for a moment, but it's a big deal in that part of Tillamook County, but it's something that I think is certainly the better of two options, maybe the best of a number of options, and Rachel can speak to that. So let me read this, and as you asked. The Cape Coanda parking lot in Pacific City will be temporarily closed for reconstruction work. The Cape Coanda parking lot reconstruction project is part of the larger Coanda Corridor project. Extreme weather delays, minor unforeseen design changes, and landslide closure of Sand Lake Road have delayed the project. The full temporary closure plan for the parking lot will allow the project to be completed on time and fully operational by peak summer season. Public access to the beach will be maintained, including boat launch activities via Doryman's Way. Limited parking will be made available during Oregon spring break and will be free. Additional parking will become available by May as the north side of the lot is completed. Pedestrian access to the beach is encouraged along the Pelican Brewing sidewalk. Additional signage and resource maps will be placed throughout the area. For more information, please visit, and there's a long URL for internet. So I know there's some information on the county's website, and so I would defer to Rachel if she wanted to add some editorial comments or something. It's like I say, it's a big deal for merchants, and I'm sure that we haven't heard the last of it when it gets down to crunch time, but there is a plan in place. What I also did mention yesterday to the group was the alternative of not providing full access and closure is the project could quite well go beyond Labor Day, and that's through the summer, and that's not something that anybody thought was the best solution. So that's where we are.
I think your narrative and the press release sums up where we are. The construction contractor, the Saunders Company, has done a great job. This is a very complex, multifaceted project. These delays are of no fault of their own. The press release describes the issues that we've run into, and they're varied. This strategy allows us to try to mitigate that timeline and have it open for the summer. The alternative, obviously, is to work through the summer. And I don't think anybody wants to see the construction occur during that time for, again, a variety of reasons. And so this was our best solution. We talked with all the agencies, first responders, some key partners in the community regarding this alternative before the press release went out. We're doing a lot of press release locally and with Visit Tillamook Coast to reach a broader audience, encouraging people to be prepared before they come. And maybe seek alternative means for how they're going to move around the area. We certainly recognize the impact it is having on the area, and we're just trying to mitigate that at this point. The only thing I would add is I know there's been concepts or suggestions for additional shuttles to be ran throughout the area. We talked with the transportation district before the press release went out, and unfortunately at this time they are not able to offer additional runs before Memorial Day. So the plan is that we have additional runs with the trolley beginning Memorial Day and then going through Labor Day. They're not able to offer any additional runs before they're regularly scheduled to start. So it's a great idea. We're unfortunately not able to accommodate that at this time, but that is where we are. The closure started on Monday, and there will be parking that opens up over the course of the next couple months as the construction is completed in different areas, but our goal is to have it open in early July.
There were questions about parking on Cape Wanda Drive, and my answer is I don't believe that's going to be permissible, as it has not been, although it will happen. But and do you know what the cop's position is on that, Sheriff's Office?
I talked to Sheriff Brown about this, informing him that there would be obviously traffic sprawl, and my understanding is it is business as usual to issue citations as time allows for their deputies managing their other priorities. Obviously, parking is not the top of the list, understandably so, but they are in the area, and they write tickets as time allows.
Good. Thank you.
Anything else, Doug?
The only other thing is, and I know Commissioner Scar can speak to this because she's going over to Salem today, is this habitat conservation plan and its effect on the Tillamook State Forest and a wider impact across western Oregon, or maybe all of Oregon. We talked about that at some length yesterday as well, and I encourage people to pay attention to the legislators and the staff people in Salem, because there are consequences attached to virtually everything they do. And this is a big one, not just financially, but deeper into our community. And a lot of people nodded heads and all, and I don't know what the result will be, but we're making a good effort here. And as I said, I believe Commissioner Scar is going to be over there today, and I hope you slap them around and get their attention. I don't mean that pejoratively, but it's a really difficult situation that has significant consequences all over Oregon, and I'm not sure everybody's paying attention, but and it's a bit of an uphill battle, but we'll hope for the best, and perhaps she can speak to that better than I.
Yeah, I actually brought the letter that we approved. I thought we
Great.
would go ahead and read that into this meeting as well,
Terrific.
just so everyone has the opportunity. So thank you, Doug, for bringing it up. The Habitat Conservation Plan has been underway with the Department of Forestry for many years. I believe this particular version was first brought forward in '21. And that was about the time, actually, I started as a commissioner, and I've been participating in the Federal Trust Land Advisory Committee for my 3 years as they have rolled through this process of the Habitat Conservation Plan. The Department of Forestry feels that due to the numerous endangered species and the opportunity for lawsuits against the department that can stop harvest, that a Habitat Conservation Plan is the right approach. And I would love to start by saying we agree. A Habitat Conservation Plan is the right approach. We don't want to be surveying and run the risk of having the possible timber harvest areas be shut down due to the presence of an endangerment of species that have already been listed as endangered species. We understand that, we support that. The challenge that we feel with this current HCP is numerous. One of the pieces is that when it was started in '21, a business case analysis was used to determine if a habitat conservation plan would create a sustainable future for the department and the counties. And the original business case said, yes, it will, that there's an average of 250 million board feet harvested in Western Oregon and the 15 trust counties, and that amount could be sustained with a habitat conservation plan. That was the first decision the Board of Forestry made was, yes, let's move forward with this plan because it will be sustainable. Unfortunately, during the course of the development of the Habitat Conservation Plan, as they have dug deeper, as they have done more specific and, I will say, accurate modeling, we have seen that sustainable harvest number drop significantly. We have now gone from the original estimate of 250 million board feet to a final estimate of between 162 and 181 million board feet. That is a significant reduction in board feet that will be available in our forest. And that reduction is because we are setting aside habitat for listed species. Those listed species are numerous, but the ones that are most impactful are the spotted owl and the marbled murrelet. We also have our salmon, our coho salmon that are listed. So there are larger riparian areas, but the most impactful part are these habitat conservation areas where harvest will not be allowed. And those are specifically driven by the murrelet and the owl. This is huge for Tillamook County. We currently, prior to the HCP, had roughly 32% of our forest where we couldn't harvest. And that was based on a combination of geographic features. We have a lot of steep slopes and difficult areas to get to, and some conservation areas that were already in existence. So we already had 32% of our forest that we couldn't get to. With this new habitat conservation plan, they add an additional 30% of our forest that we cannot harvest. So we are down now to 38% that is available for harvest. That's not enough. It's not enough to support the government functions that revenue provides for. It is not enough to support our schools. So currently what we harvest is split across our special districts, our schools, and county services. 56% of what we harvest out of that goes to our schools. So right now, both Neocani and Nestucca school districts do not draw money from the state school equalization fund. And the reason they don't is because there's enough local money to ensure they don't need state funding, and in fact, to provide more money than state equalization would. Our two smallest school districts are able to be the good, amazing educational institutions that they are because there is revenue for them beyond what state stabilization would provide. As we look at a 30% drop in revenue, Those school districts will see that 30% drop in revenue. Those school districts will find themselves on the equalization fund and will find themselves without the money they've used for the amazing enrichments and just the balancing factor of keeping a small district with limited funding able to provide the things that a larger district can. This is very impactful to our community. Additionally, we've seen 3 timber mills close across the region. We don't know what will happen in Tillamook County. We don't know if our mills will be solid or not. But economically, we know we will lose jobs in our forest, and there is a potential for us to lose jobs in our mills as well. This will have a ripple effect through our community. It is not simply, well, the county has to get by with a little less revenue. No, your county, your special districts, your schools will have to get by with less revenue, which means you will receive less services as a community. Additionally, we will lose jobs, which means our community and how it thrives will change. So it is impactful. And to Doug's point, we have been raising this red flag, shouting from the treetops, meeting with the Board of Forestry, meeting with the state forester, doing everything we can to get this message across. Unfortunately, we don't feel strongly that we're being heard. So as your Board of Commissioners, we are sitting at the final moment. I do sit as the Vice Chair of the Forest Trust Land Counties, and I will be there today, this afternoon, with testimony live to the Board of Forestry. In addition, the commissioners prepared a letter that was in the Board of Forestry packet, which we read and approved yesterday on the radio call. I'm happy to read that again if we would like to do that for folks at home so that they can understand, exactly what statements we have made. This is a tricky issue, and it's a tricky issue because some of you listening to this will think, don't you care about the environment? How is it that you think we should cut down all the trees? We do care about the environment. We do care about the species that are listed. We don't want to see any damage. That said, this particular habitat conservation plan has not provided what it promised, which is conservation and fiscal sustainability. It has put the department and the counties at risk, and it has we don't know for sure what the environmental protection piece of this is going to do in terms of the requirements because the Department of Forestry hasn't shared with us from their conversations with the federal services. So we don't know if there's more than is needed other than their modeling has shown that in their reports. So it's very complicated. That said, if we go forward with this plan as presented, with the changes that have occurred over the course of the HCP timeline, we don't feel it's the right HCP for our forest. So I will go ahead and just read what we have submitted in testimony, written testimony, and then I will be there providing testimony this afternoon. So Chair Kelly and members of the Oregon Board of Forestry, Tillamook County is a trust land county that deeded 296,946 acres of our forest, nearly 40% of the entire state forest that exists today, to the state in a partnership for long-term management. We are very concerned with both the proposed draft habitat conservation plan as well as the state forester's recommendation. Both are before you on Thursday, March 7th. Local governments and communities like ours have very low property tax rates and have been dependent upon the timber harvest revenues to fund vital county programs and services, as well as schools and special district operations. These harvests and resulting local timber products manufacturing also provide family, wage, fully benefited jobs to support a vibrant economy. The funds collected by local governments from timber harvests, 63.75% of the revenue generated, are used to fund everyday aspects of our lives, such as schools and fire districts. If the board chooses to move forward with the recommendation as presented in Tillamook County, we will likely have to reduce services across all general fund departments. Specific services that will be most impactful to our constituents and visitors include sheriff deputies who currently patrol the roads and respond to emergency situations such as vehicle accidents and break-ins. Our planning department that provides building permits to allow additional development and tax growth. And the county clerk's department that's responsible for safe and secure elections. Oregon Department of Forestry originally projected the harvest would be at 250 million board feet. The federal services then projected 225 million board feet. ODF then revised the projected harvest volume down closer to 185 million board feet. The most recent modeling numbers are showing anywhere from 162 to 181 million board feet. The Trust Land County's 10-year harvest is 250. In terms of acres available for harvest, Tillamook County will realize a loss of 30% of our harvestable land. We will go from having 95,000 acres constrained by natural geography and conservation to a total of 184,000 acres constrained. This leaves us with only 38% of our lands available for harvest to support our communities, schools, and special districts. Make no mistake that this is not enough to support the needs of the people of Tillamook County. We believe in and support using good science to ensure the survival of ESA-listed species. We simply believe that this plan goes too far in setting aside land for owls and other species, where changing science is questioning if setting aside more land is actually equal to species survival. Let's slow down and confirm that this is the right HCP. We strongly urge the Board of Forestry to consider modifications to this HCP and delay adoption of this habitat conservation plan until all parties can find common ground. Commissioners, comments?
Thank you, Commissioner. Well, I think you explained it very well, and I'm, from our conversation yesterday and previous conversations in public meetings, I know that we're all supportive of that letter, and we're supportive of the work to amend the HCP to be more balanced. I believe I'm speaking for the board, but feel free to say your own piece. I feel that this proposed HCP is not balanced, and that would be our ask. That would be our hope moving forward, that the management of our forests would be balanced. And I don't think it is. And I also don't think it's based on sound science. And I think it's preposterous that it's a plan for the next 70 years. So I think that's outrageous that they're trying, that they will soon vote on something that will lock the Forest Trust Lands counties into a 70-year plan. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. During the course of the Habitat Conservation Plan development, new studies have come out around the preservation of the owl. The barred owl has been determined to be one of the huge factors of why our spotted owls are disappearing. That study came out from the federal government during the course of this HCP, but it has not caused the Department of Forestry to take pause and to really look at that and adjust the owl set-asides that they have. I mean, that in and of itself is just a huge piece. The set-asides may not make sense based on the new science, and they're not pausing to look at that.
Okay, I have one thing.
Please.
Just one more, one or two closing comments here, and before we send Commissioner Scar on her way to Salem. She mentioned the special districts. There are 21 special districts in Tillamook County, and that includes our fire districts, our little water and sewer districts, sanitary sewer districts, stormwater districts. It includes also schools and police, fire district, at least here in Tillamook and across the county. Of the 21, 16 of them get money from this source. Some of them just a few $1,000s in a rather nominal amount, others considerably more. So this is not just a county issue. This is an issue for all the public services delivered across Tillamook County. And I guess the last thing I'd say, the three of us and many others have been involved in public policy in one form or one venue or another over the years. And public policy, almost by definition, is compromise. If you can have two political parties, you can have widely varying interests, but in the end, it's a compromise. I remember about, I guess been now almost 15 years, Oregon had at one time in 2011 and 2013, the House and the legislature was split 30-30. And there were co-speakers, something that doesn't happen very often. It was, if I remember, it was Representative Bruce Hanna from Roseburg, and then Senator and then Representative Arnie Roeblen from the Coos Bay area. they were co-speakers, and I went to a couple of meetings where they were talking about this, and they said there is not a shred of public policy that gets adopted by the Oregon legislature that is not good policy, because we can't get it through a balanced legislature. And what's happening today is things are out of balance, my opinion, I'm saying here, in the Oregon, in the state of Oregon, and we're being asked to pay the price for that, as are all of you. You're being asked to pay for a price on something that's out of balance. And it should be corrected, and we're at the 99th percentile here of having it adopted. So I wish you, Commissioner Scar, I hope you go over there and jump up and down and make a nuisance of yourself and they pay attention, because I don't know how else you get their attention, but this is really a big deal, and I've been trying to explain this to a lot of people, and people show a considerable amount of anger, but then what happens after that, I don't know. So I'll be quiet and just say this is something that your county commission and a lot of others are weighing in on this. Whether we'll be successful or not remains to be seen. Thank you.
Thank you. It feels the weight of it is considerable. Like this moment, this vote by the Board of Forestry can change the course of our county's future. So the weight of it is considerable, and all we can do is what we're doing, is what you're doing. All we can do is stand up and say our piece. We don't even get to vote.
We do not get to vote. The Board of Forestry is the body that will be voting. The state forester has made his recommendation. The Board of Forestry are members appointed by the governor. And this seated Board of Forestry has remained the same as the governor's changed. I believe Chair Kelly was reappointed by the current governor. So you can find more about that on the Department of Forestry's webpage if you'd like to know who those members are and what their backgrounds are. At this point, we are expecting a split vote either way. Based on the individuals who sit on the board, what their backgrounds are and what they have expressed in terms of their opinions thus far. So, yeah, we will continue to do what we have done for 2.5 years, 3 years, which is continue to raise the flag and make our statements and hope that we are heard.
Thank you. Anything else, commissioners? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. There is no board briefing scheduled for either today, Wednesday, March 6th, 2024, or Wednesday, March 13th, 2024. The commissioners will attend a work session with the Committee on Mission, Vision, and Values on Wednesday, March 13th, 2024 at 2 p.m. The work session will be held in the Board of Commissioners Meeting Room 106 at 201 Laurel Avenue, Tillamook, Oregon. If there's nothing else, we will adjourn this meeting at 10:27 a.m. Hi, April.
Hi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We need all the support we can get. Yeah, thank you.
And we're really excited about Cinnamon Road.
Yeah, true.